Picture this. You're scrolling late at night, and Norway looks like a clean, quiet miracle. Mountains that drop into glassy water, tiny red cabins, people hiking like it's a religion, streets that feel safe, a society that looks calm. And in your head, a single sentence starts forming. Maybe Norway is the reset button. But then reality shows up in small, unglamorous ways. A grocery receipt that makes you blink twice. A dark winter afternoon where the sun disappears before you've even finished your day. A rental listing that wants a deposit so big it feels like a down payment. And a moment you don't expect, standing in a polite, silent room, realizing that friendly and welcoming aren't always the same thing. So let's do this with no sugarcoating. If you're thinking about moving to Norway in 2026, I'm not here to sell you a fantasy or scare you away. I'm here to tell you what the dream gets right, what the dream gets wrong, and what the reality actually feels like, so you don't move your whole life based on a postcard. Because Norway can be amazing, and Norway can also be a shock. Both can be true at the same time. Let's start with why Norway pulls people in so hard. The dream is simple: stability. Not just a nice place to visit, but a place that feels like the rules work. Like systems are built to last. Like daily life isn't constantly fighting you. People imagine safety, clean cities, reliable public services, and a culture that values balance. You hear stories about work-life boundaries. You see parents pushing strollers outside in the cold like it's normal. You watch videos where people say they feel calmer, like their nervous system finally relaxed. And that part isn't fake. Norway really does offer a kind of stability that's rare. But what most people miss is the trade. Norway isn't a magic land with no downsides. It's a country with priorities. And if your priorities match Norway's, you'll thrive. If they don't, you'll feel trapped. So the first reality check is this. Norway rewards people who like structure. If you love freedom in the sense of doing whatever you want whenever you want, Norway might feel tight. But if you love freedom in the sense of I can plan my life and trust the system, Norway might feel like home. Now let's talk about the topic that hits people first and hardest: money. The dream version goes like this. Norway has high wages, so life is easier. The reality is more like, Norway has high costs, so you need to think differently. Yes, wages can be higher, but the cost of everyday life is not playing around, and it's not always the big stuff you expect. Sometimes it's the small stuff that wears you down. A simple meal out, a haircut, basic services, everyday groceries. Because in Norway, labor is expensive. And that's not an insult. It's part of the system. It reflects how work is valued, how taxes are structured, how society is organized. But for newcomers, it can feel like everything is priced like a luxury. So here's the no sugarcoating truth. If you move to Norway without a budget buffer, you're gambling. And the people who feel Norway is overrated are often the people who arrived with a fantasy budget, not a reality budget. Rent can be a major chunk, especially in popular cities. Groceries can surprise you. Eating out often becomes a sometimes thing, not an everyday habit. And if you're used to a lifestyle where services are cheap, delivery, repairs, beauty services, frequent restaurant meals, Norway will force you to reset. But there's another side to that. Many people say that while they spend more on certain things, they spend less on chaos, less on stress, less on feeling unsafe, less on constant emergencies, less on that invisible cost of living in a place where you always feel like something might go wrong. So the question isn't just, is Norway expensive? It's what do you get back for what you pay? And that depends on your life situation. Now let's talk about the biggest make or break factor for moving: work. This is where the internet can be misleading, because people see Norway and think they need workers. I'll be fine. Maybe. But Norway's job market can be strict in a way that surprises people. The dream is, I'll get there, apply, and find something quickly. The reality is, it depends on your field, your credentials, your city, and your language. In some industries you can find paths. In others, the door is heavy. Not locked, but heavy. Norway isn't just hiring a skill. It's often hiring trust, fit, reliability, communication. And sometimes that includes language, even when the job can technically be done in English. Because workplace culture matters a lot here. Meetings matter, clarity matters. Being able to coordinate without confusion matters. So even if your technical skill is strong, if you can't communicate smoothly, You may get passed over for someone who can. And here's the part people don't like hearing. Networking matters in Norway too. People want to pretend it's only about merit. But in reality, personal connections and recommendations can accelerate everything. Not because Norway is corrupt, but because Norway values safety and predictability. A referral reduces risk. A known person feels safer than an unknown person. So if you're moving without a job offer in 2026, you need a plan that assumes time. Not a few days, not a couple of weeks. Time and money to support that time. Now about paperwork, because this is the part that nobody glamorizes in travel videos. The dream is, Norway is organized, so it will be simple. The reality is, organized does not always mean fast. Norway loves processes, systems, appointments, correct documents, correct steps in the correct order. It's fair, but it's not flexible. If something is missing, you don't get a special pass because you're stressed. You get sent back to do it correctly. And that can be frustrating, especially if you're coming from a place where everything is messy but negotiable. In Norway, messy is not negotiable. So you need to arrive prepared. Copies, scans, backups, names spelled correctly, dates correct, everything. Because one tiny mistake can delay your next step, and delays can cascade. Banking might depend on a number, housing might depend on banking, work might depend on registration, and suddenly you feel stuck in a loop. But let's be fair, once you're inside the system, life can become smoother. The problem is the transition period. Now let's hit housing, because for many people, housing is where the dream either becomes real or falls apart. The dream? I'll get a cozy Scandinavian apartment with big windows and minimalist furniture. The reality? The rental market can be competitive, especially in major areas. You might see listings that disappear fast. You might see requirements that feel intense. You might realize that location changes everything. Price, availability, quality, commute. And there's something else, expectations. In Norway, being a good tenant is taken seriously. Rules about noise, care, cleanliness. These aren't suggestions, they're part of the culture. For some people, that feels comforting. For others, it feels suffocating. So if you're moving to Norway in 2026, the smartest move is to treat your first housing situation like a landing pad, not your forever home. Temporary first. Then once you understand the neighborhoods, the commute, the lifestyle, and your budget in real numbers, you choose something more stable. Now let's talk about the part that surprises people who thought the hardest thing would be money or paperwork. The hardest thing is often loneliness. Norway can be quiet, and not just in the literal sense. Socially, it can feel quiet too. The dream is, people are so nice, I'll make friends quickly. The reality, people are polite, respectful, and often kind, but private. You might chat with someone at work, have a great conversation, and still not get invited anywhere for months. Not because they don't like you, but because social circles can be stable, and people don't always expand them quickly. In some places, friendships take time the way a tree takes time. Slowly, season by season, through consistency. So if you move expecting instant community, you might think something is wrong, but nothing is wrong. You're just in a culture where friendship can mean something deeper and more committed, and people may not offer it quickly. The good news is, once you're in, it can be real, but you have to do your part. You have to show up. Join something, a sports club, a hiking group, a volunteer activity, a language exchange, a local hobby group, anything that creates repeated contact. Because casual random hangouts might not happen as often. Think of it like this. Norway is not always a spontaneous friend culture. It can be a planned friend culture. Now let's hit some culture shocks that nobody warns you about directly. 1. Personal space. People may stand farther apart. They may speak softly in public. They may not do big emotional displays with strangers. If you're used to loud, expressive social energy, Norway can feel like everyone is holding back. 2. Directness. Norwegians can be straightforward, not rude, just clear. Feedback might feel blunt if you're used to softer delivery, and the first time you experience it, you might take it personally. Don't. It's often not emotional, it's practical. 3. Planning. If you like spontaneous surprises, you might struggle. Many people plan social time in advance. Weekends are often scheduled. And if you try to make last-minute plans, you might get polite responses, but few yeses. 4. Equality culture. Status flexing doesn't land the same way. If you're trying to impress with titles, money, and loud confidence, it might not work. In some spaces, it can even feel awkward. Norway values being grounded, not fake humble, just normal. And this connects to something people often talk about, the don't think you're better than others vibe. Whether you call it cultural modesty or social equality, it's real enough that you'll feel it. Now let's talk about the weather, because people love to mention cold, but cold isn't the real issue. Darkness is the real issue. The dream, I love cozy winter, I'll be fine. The reality, winter can be emotionally heavy if you're not prepared. When the daylight is short, your energy can change, your mood can dip, your motivation can drop. And if you don't build routines, winter can start to feel like it's shrinking your life. But Norwegians have ways to cope that are worth learning. One of the biggest is this: they don't wait for perfect weather to live. They go outside anyway. They walk, they hike, they ski, they get fresh air even when it's cold and gray. They light candles, they make warm spaces. They treat winter like a season to manage, not a season to fear. And if you move to Norway, you need to think the same way. Because winter will test you. Not with drama, but with quiet. It's not a storm that breaks you. It's the slow repetition of short days and the temptation to isolate. So you need a winter plan, a routine plan, a social plan, a hobby plan. And if you can build that, winter becomes something you handle, not something that handles you. Now, what about healthcare, safety, and the things that make Norway feel like a better place? This is where balance matters. Norway is widely seen as safe and stable, and many people do feel relief living there. But don't expect luxury. Don't expect instant access to everything. Don't expect a system that feels like customer service. It's a system built for fairness and prioritization. So sometimes it's impressive, and sometimes it's frustrating, depending on your needs. And this is the pattern you'll see again and again with Norway. It's not built to pamper you, it's built to work. Which brings us to the taxes conversation. The dream. Taxes will crush me. The reality, yes, you feel taxes, but you also feel the structure that taxes support, depending on your situation. And again, no sugarcoating. If you are someone who hates rules and resents paying into shared systems, Norway might not be your vibe, because Norway is built on a social contract. People follow rules not just out of fear, but out of agreement. There's a trust culture. There's a belief that if most people do the right thing, the system works better for everyone. And if you come from a place where trust is low and people always look for loopholes, Norway will feel like a different planet. Now, here's the most important question. Who actually thrives in Norway? The people who thrive are usually the people who like stability, structure, nature, and long-term living. People who can entertain themselves without constant noise. People who don't need to be surrounded by chaos to feel alive. People who can handle a slower social pace while building real connections over time. The people who struggle are often the people who need constant excitement, constant social energy, and a lifestyle built on spontaneity and cheap convenience. If you need your city to feel loud and alive every day, Norway might feel too quiet. If you need instant friendships, you might feel rejected. If you expect life to become easy the moment you arrive, you might feel disappointed. But if your dream is to build a calm life, Norway can be one of the best places to do it. Now let's make this practical. If you're moving in 2026, here's how you reality-proof your move. First, build a budget buffer. Not a tiny one, a real one. Enough for months, not weeks. Enough that you're not desperate the moment something takes longer than you hoped. Second, have a job plan, not just a dream. Know your industry, know where your roles exist, know whether your credentials translate, and understand that language can be a major lever for opportunity. Third, have your documents organized like your life depends on it. Because in the first months, it kind of does. Keep digital copies and paper copies, keep backups, keep everything clean and correct. Fourth, treat housing like stages. Temporary landing first, then stable housing once you understand the market. Don't rush into your dream apartment before you understand your reality. Fifth, plan your social life on purpose. Join groups, show up consistently. Do not wait for community to magically appear. Norway can be warm, but it often becomes warm through repetition and trust. Sixth, plan for winter mentally. Light, routines, movement, hobbies, community. Don't rely on motivation. Build systems. Now here's my honest verdict. Norway is not a fantasy land. It's a real place with real trade-offs. But for the right person, Norway isn't just a dream. It's a long-term upgrade. If you want stability more than chaos, if you want nature more than nightlife, if you want structure more than randomness, and if you're willing to adapt to a quieter social rhythm, Norway can fit you beautifully. But if you're moving only because you're running from your current life, and you think a new country will magically fix everything, Norway will humble you. Because Norway doesn't fix you. Norway rewards you when you build a life that matches it. So here's the question I want you to answer honestly. Are you moving for the postcard, or are you moving for the system? If it's the postcard, visit first. If it's the system, plan properly. And now I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me the city you're thinking about. Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, Stavanger, or somewhere smaller. And tell me what your biggest worry is. Money, jobs, winter, or making friends. And if you want more no-sugarcoating videos like this, real budgets, step-by-step moving plans, and what daily life actually feels like, subscribe, because I'm dropping a full 2026 Norway move guide next.